back to the eGovernment mini-series produced by the Economic Development Council, also known as the EDC. The purpose of this mini-series is to discuss the concept of e-government and its benefits to the business community and the wider public. And today we're joined by Mr. Ian Smith, who is the Chief Information Officer for CETO, Mrs. Kim Aikman, the CEO for the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Mr. Ishmael Keras, the Executive Director for the Economic Development Council, the EDC. All right, thank you for joining us, and we hope to have a very good discussion today. I know everybody is ready to get going, so I say we start off with you, Mr. Smith. Let's talk generally about the e-portal initiative. What exactly is that about? And then we can get into the Belize Motor Vehicles Registration project that we're going to be talking about as well.
Okay, great. So the e-portal really is an initiative that seeks to connect government with citizens. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The concept of the e-portal is a one-stop shop for whole of government, so to speak, where citizens would be able to transact business with government for various services, such as the requesting birth certificates, the submission of passport information for application, communicating with various CEOs or ministry heads of government via that e-portal. So it's a way for government to connect to its citizens and to give them a secure channel, modern channel, using information and communication technology to become more efficient, to drive down the cost of business, and to make the lives of its constituents more convenient.
So basically it's a one-stop shop. So right. I heard you mention even from any type of registration that we're talking about can be done through this particular portal. So that's the end goal that we're looking at. Right. I understand that we're not necessarily there yet, but that's where we're going. Right. And you already mentioned the reasons for it. It has to do with making things more efficient. So from a business standpoint, Mrs. Aikman, I know that makes a lot of sense to you.
Yes, it does. That has been one of the initiatives that we've been asking government to do to make life easier for citizens as a whole. I think we tend to be Belmopan-centric or Belize city-centric, but if we always, or almost always, don't think of the people in the outlying areas who have to make a trip down to either Belize City or Belmopan to do. So that's a very welcome change, yes.
And it's good it's all online. Now, there's one question I have. You mentioned communicating with CEOs and different department heads. So what are we talking about there, really?
Yeah, well, various means of communication. So if, let's say, as an example, I submitted an application for a land. I'm a Belizean, I want to apply for land, and for some reason it's taking a little too long. I would be able to connect via this portal and actually have a conversation with a person in that domain. Maybe it's a simple document that I'm missing that I would be able to submit to them through a secure channel once I have been identified, and so there are mechanisms that are being designed into this portal.
I'm assuming you would have things like complaint numbers and those type of tracking numbers so that you can be a legitimate complaint that can be lodged.
Certainly.
Now that's definitely something that will go a long way when it comes to different processes in Belize. Now speak to us about the Belize Motor Vehicles Registry. What is that about and what is the intent behind that?
Yeah, well, the intention behind that is to really create a motor vehicles platform, so to speak, and it seeks to address two areas of e-government. One is e-administration, how government can become more efficient within itself. So that's a collaboration then between the Department of Transport, Customs. You have the police, the municipal bodies, automating the workflows that goes behind the learner's permit, driver's license, the licensing of vehicles, vehicle registration.
Bus permits.
Sorry?
Bus permits will be in there as well?
I do believe so, yes. They're looking at transportation. So once it's licensing of a motor vehicle, a bus, whatever it is, then yeah, that application would be automates that workflow, making government much more responsive. So that's that area in terms of e-administration. Then you also have, there's also the idea of a citizen gateway to connect to this portal where persons, and so that's the government to citizen aspect of e-government, where they would be able similarly to apply for a driver's license, receive notifications that look, you know, your license is ready, you can come and pick it up, or do you want us to mail it to you? That sort of thing. So we're starting to use information and communication technology to make the lives of citizens much more easier,
so we'll
more
be seeing
convenient.
a day when we don't have these long lines at traffic departments every time you have a birthday and you have to go and renew your driver's license. Basically, that's where we're heading.
That's where we're heading. That's where we're heading.
Okay.
And so that makes, obviously, then the entire process much more responsive. It's going to reduce costs for government,
Which is always a good thing.
which is a very good thing, right? And obviously, at the end of the day, you have a citizen that is much, much more happier, right? So I can sit at the comfort of my own home, like what Ms. Aikman said. I don't have to be traveling miles and miles and miles to get to a particular office, a physical building, to now transact business with government. Government is providing its citizen, or will be providing its citizen, with a secure, modern communication channel or platform where they will be able to transact any day.
And you'll also do away with those silos that happens a lot of times where one municipality has information, another doesn't, and it helps with reinforcement and tracking and all those type of things.
Right, and precisely. So that's the type of business process improvement that went behind the design and the construction of this application. What we looked at were the bureaucratic silos that exists, and we found then innovative ways, looking at policy, to find the linkages between all these agencies so that information and data can flow in a secure and legal manner as well. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. And all of these things that you're hearing is government to citizen indeed. Now, the private sector, through the BCCI, is also looking at ways to make the life easier for citizens as well.
Exactly.
And recently, the BCCI launched its policy tracker. Now, can you please tell us quickly, what is the policy tracker about?
I will use Mr. Smith's words and say that we are the bridge between the government legislation and the citizens. The policy tracker, in a nutshell, is the ability for a citizen or a business to be able to access legislation or SIs that have been adjusted and gazetted. Now you're able to, and we've launched this portal already, you're able to look at the portal and see the latest gazetted pieces of legislation on there. And it also brings it, takes it out of that legalese language and brings it down in real English, general English, and have the person looking at it know how this will affect them, what does this mean for me, etc.
Yeah.
So,
My understanding, this was part of an open government project
yes,
with the OAS,
the
and
OAS
the Trust of the Americas.
Trust of the Americas, yes. It was a part of their open government project, as you said, and we saw the need to really go after a piece of this project because, as you know, the Chamber has always been advocating for transparent, open government. And we saw this as an opportunity to bring to citizens what has been gazetted. As you know, the Gazette is only in print form, and you have to be a subscriber to the Gazette. By the time you get it, or the audience who reads it, so is not necessarily the person who really needs to see it. So the portal then acts as this bridge between the Gazette and you. You know how it affects you.
So basically, if you're not subscribing to it, and
You can look on the portal,
portal.
Belize.org, and the portal is up there.
And if I could add, the BCCI's policy tracker portal is a tremendous example of collaboration between the public and private sector. Because on the one hand, we do expect a lot from government. However, government should not necessarily be expected to do everything, and especially with regard to innovation, a lot of the times it takes private sector to go out and put its part, and then have something, some contribution to make things like this work.
And I'm glad you added that, because I was just about to bring into this point, because the policy tracker under the Open Government Initiative actually had to have a government counterpart, which is the EDC. Right? So it shows that collaboration. Yes, it was an initiative led by the private sector, but it does show that there is collaboration between both entities, both sides, if you can use that term.
Yes.
So when it comes to the policy tracker, the entire idea of it, is it unique to Belize? Or is this something that you can find in other jurisdictions?
Well, you can find it in other jurisdictions. We looked at the UK example, and we see that they update their tracker every single day. At some point, we will get there, but we are pretty much up to date with the legislation that have been passed. So,
I mean, I know we have like sites like legislation.gov.uk, like you said, they do it every day. But they have a lot of bills passing and a lot of laws passing every day. So that's
but we are pretty much up to date with all the bills that have been passed, or the SIs, which sometimes you have to wait until you get the Gazette before you know. And as you know, we've had people who would say, well, I used to pay X amount of duty on this. What happened? And they're able to look at the tracker and know, oh, this SI was passed on this day, which changed.
And can people subscribe to the site?
Yes, they can at this time.
Okay, excellent. Now, again, in all of this conversation, we are under an umbrella of sorts. The leveraging digital technology for the improvement of business and those type of things. But the EDC has launched recently, a part of all of this, a particular app, the U-Reform Belize app. Now, can you please tell us a little bit about what that app is about?
Great. No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. The U-Reform Belize app is a free mobile application that serves...
Keyword being free.
Free, yeah, exactly. It's on the Apple Store as well as the Google Play Store. A free mobile application, Belizean designed and developed with the goal of enabling better communication between the citizen and private sector in particular, and the government for specifically the reporting of issues, the reporting of problems that especially businesses are facing as they try to access government services. And so the U-Reform Belize app serves the purpose of, one, the government receiving information from citizens and from businesses, ranging from complaints to recommendations as to how to improve a particular service. And the other side of it is for the citizen to be better informed by the government when the government has in mind or is drafting new legislation that potentially impacts the citizen or business. By having the app, you can receive push notifications as to some proposed change, some update to a law, some news about a new program or something that will affect your ability to do business. And so there's both functions, the push and the pull functionalities of this mobile application. One of the reasons why we felt that it was very important to develop this app is, one, to diversify the communication channels. We're increasingly a digital society. And so more and more people, have more ready access to mobile phones, and you're then able to be better informed and communicate through that means.
Okay. So I hear some similarities, because the e-portal also has an element where you can communicate with different government agencies, and I'm hearing the same thing from the app. Is it that the app will be linked to the portal? Is there some type of linkage between the two?
So the way the app is designed, it receives information that the EDC then processes and tracks by basically diverting it to the relevant agency or department or ministry. And a tracking number is assigned to ensure that the person who does submit that recommendation or complaint does receive a response. So the idea is to interlink and make sure that who needs to receive the information, whatever it is, receives it, and then we act as that bridge to make sure that a response follows.
From the private sector standpoint, do you see this as something that is useful?
Definitely useful. I think the app is innovative, and it is out there that anybody can have access to the relevant party on the other side. So definitely.
And the
yes.
tracking on the reforms
On
is
the
important as
reforms.
well, because you now know, okay, this is in the process of being changed.
Yes.
The part that I like the most about it, it sounds that as you're describing, you can input. If there's a bill that's in process that you can input, how early does it start? From the first reading in the House, or are we talking from draft stage?
My understanding is that when it is prepared, or when an amendment or change is proposed, we can actually issue an advisory that something is being proposed. If there is an opportunity to provide input into that, then the app is an avenue for that to be received. And then when it is read the first time, there is that legally mandated time frame for consultation, as well as feedback, receiving feedback or issues or complaints or objections. And so therefore the app is the ideal mechanism for receiving that.
And it's the EDC that's curating all of this information that's coming in through the app, or as you said, it's going to the relevant parties?
In the same way that we would divert, we would work closely with the Attorney General's ministry, as well as the other legislative mechanisms within the government to receive the information. And so there would, in the long term, be a level of automation. However, for now, we would be receiving directly from ministries or departments and then feeding it back out to the citizen manually.
And the citizen would be, you would be receiving from the citizen.
Yes.
And disseminating.
That's correct.
Based on, okay.
That's correct, yeah.
All right. So overall, there's a lot of good things happening. We're definitely moving more online and more digital in this era. And I guess the technology of the day allows a lot of these things to happen. The last question I have, and this is for both gentlemen, timeline. What are we looking at? Is this app already up and running? And when are we looking to see some of the things that you were describing earlier?
Yeah, it's likely to come online somewhere around the second quarter of next year. What we need to ensure is that we have the legislative framework that is going to enable that data flow from citizen to government and from government to itself. And so looking at the policies, we need to do that reform is key, and then allow that's the platform that is going to run on. So we're looking somewhere around May, June.
And you said the app is already up and running?
Correct. In the case of the Government of Belize app, this was launched at the Prime Minister's Business Forum in 2019. And we've taken this time since then to make sure that we have everything in place to receive and disperse information. It is live, Apple Store, Google Play Store, Government of Belize. It's right there.
Excellent. And from the private sector, are you feeling hopeful? Or?
Definitely hopeful. We feel that you're listening. And it's a partnership. That's the Economic Development Council, as you know, is private-public. So definitely, yes.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you three for joining us this afternoon as we discuss the different work that are happening as far as concerned when it comes to government to citizen initiatives that are happening. And viewers, thank you for joining us in this segment as we discuss the same government to citizen initiatives. We will be back with government to business, so until then, we'll see you soon.